Are you thinking about making a move to the province of Alberta? Well, guys, you have clicked on the right video because today we are going to be jumping into Google Maps and doing a full map tour of the province of Alberta. We're going to be showing you everything that you need to know about living in Alberta. We're going to go east to west. We're going to be looking north to south and just show you everything you need to know, from the nature and the wildlife to the cities. What's the lifestyle like? What's the affordability like in these cities as well? So make sure you stick around through the whole video so that you get the whole picture of what it's like living here in the province of Alberta. Now, before we get into it, if you guys are new to the channel, my name is Brian and I'm a real estate agent here in the city of Edmonton. And I get calls, texts, and emails from people every single day who are looking to make the move to the province of Alberta, whether that be from more expensive cities like Toronto and Vancouver. Maybe they're coming from abroad like the US or overseas, or maybe they just need a change in lifestyle, a different pace. There are so many different reasons to make the move here to the province of Alberta, and we are always welcoming to new people who are coming to join us here in Alberta. So if that sounds like you, I want you to get in touch with me. I'm going to have all my information in the description so you can get in touch however you feel most comfortable, and we can make your move to Alberta a smooth one. Now, if you just want to make sure that you have your finger on the pulse in the Alberta real estate market, then make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you are always the first to know about the current market in Edmonton and the Alberta real estate market as well. Now, without further ado, guys, let's jump right into Google Maps so we can give you this map tour of the province of Alberta. All right, guys, here we are in Google Maps. We're taking a look at Alberta. We have a whole bird's eye view of the province right now. Now, the first thing that you're going to see is that Alberta is kind of a weird shape. We almost look like we're supposed to be a rectangle up here at the top, and then down towards the bottom in this bottom left corner, there's just this jagged cut in into Alberta, and then it comes down and continues the little rectangle here. Now, you can see that along that jagged line, a lot of that is going to be the Canadian Rockies. So we do follow the Canadian Rockies on our provincial line here with BC. So some of those Canadian Rockies are going to be in British Columbia, and then some of them are going to be in Alberta. I'll let you in on a little bit of a secret. I do think that we have the better side of the Canadian Rockies. We have some amazing mountains and a lot of just nature on our side here. And I think it's a gorgeous place to be. But before we dive into that, let's take a look at Alberta as a whole. Now you can see that Edmonton and Calgary, we're kind of in the bottom third-ish of Alberta here. There's not a whole lot going on above that to the north. There is going to be Fort McMurray, which is a big oil town. A lot of people who live in Edmonton go up to Fort McMurray for work. That's about a 5-hour drive that's going to be up here. But beyond that, there's not a whole lot of cities. There's not a whole lot of residences above Edmonton. We're largely going to be in this bottom third of the province here. Now, before we jump into the cities, let's take a look at some of the nature, specifically the Canadian Rockies that we have out west in the province here, kind of the southwest side. So as we look in these Canadian Rockies, that's going to be made up of 5 national parks here in the Canadian Rockies. And the first one that you see here is Jasper National Park. Now that's due west of Edmonton, basically. So as we come in here, I'll let you know that Jasper is actually the largest park in the Rockies, and it has the highest peak on the Alberta side. So we do have the highest mountain in the Canadian Rockies on the Alberta side here in Jasper National Park. Now we do have a town of Jasper, and that's going to be down here, which is a tourist town. It gets millions of tourists every year who are coming out here to see the nature, to see the wildlife, enjoy the mountains around them. So as we come down south from Jasper, another one, and I'd say probably the largest, the most major tourist destination here in the Canadian Rockies, on the Alberta side anyway, is going to be Banff National Park. So you do see that we have the town of Banff down here as well. But again, just amazing mountains that you're going to get through here. Both in Jasper and Banff, we have large and very popular ski destinations as well. In Banff, we have Sunshine Village. And then in Jasper, we're going to have Marmot Basin. So those are huge skiing and snowboarding destinations. If that is your thing, you're going to have that very easily accessible here in the province of Alberta. Now you can see that Banff here, we are pretty much due west of Calgary. It's only about an hour drive from Calgary to Banff. Only 45 minutes if you want to get into the mountains, if you want to get into Kananaskis here. Super easily accessible from Calgary. Now, as we come down, the last park that I wanted to mention is going to be at the very bottom of the province. So as you see, these mountains kind of taper off a little bit and then come back as we get into Waterton National Park. That's going to be on the very bottom section of Alberta here. And I think Waterton Park doesn't get enough attention. It doesn't have the millions and millions of visitors every year that Banff and Jasper are going to get, but you're going to get a lot of the same mountains, a lot of the same lakes, rivers, hiking trails, skiing, mountain biking, hiking, anything that you can really want, just in a less busy park down here. You're going to get less tourists, less visitors, and so you're going to be able to enjoy more of the park yourself. So I wanted to mention Waterton National Park before we got out of the mountains here as well, because I feel it's a very underrated part of Alberta that doesn't get talked about a lot. Now let's talk a little bit about the cities that we have here in Alberta. We'll start at the top with Edmonton, not just because it's my favorite and that's where I am, but just because we will work our way down. Now, as we zoom into Edmonton, one of the first things you're going to notice is we do sit on the North Saskatchewan River. That's going to come down from the northeast through Fort Saskatchewan. It's going to cut basically through the middle of Edmonton here and all the way down. Now, the River Valley is one of my favorite parts of living in Edmonton, and just in general, a lot of the nature that we have here in Edmonton. In fact, it has the most parkland per resident of any city in Canada. So there's going to be a lot of ability to get out into green spaces, go enjoy picnics, throw a football around, do whatever it is you like to do. But there's going to be so many walking trails in Edmonton, just with the amount of ravines that shoot off of this river valley here. You can see some of them coming south here off the river. So there's a ton of walking trails, a lot of trees here in the city of Edmonton. And we are sitting on the North Saskatchewan River, which gives amazing views and a great option to get out and enjoy the river valley as well. Now, I'll mention some of the cities that we have in the Edmonton metro area, some of the larger ones anyways. Sherwood Park, St. Albert, Spruce Grove, those are especially very nice places to live, very popular destinations to live here in the Edmonton metro area. Now, in the city of Edmonton itself, we have just over 1 million residents. If we include all these cities in the Edmonton metro area, we're at just over 1.4 million residents, so about 400,000 people living in the Edmonton metro area, but outside of the city of Edmonton itself. Now, the average home price in Edmonton is going to be about $380,000. So definitely one of the most affordable cities in Canada right now. It's a huge reason that we're seeing a lot of immigration to Alberta from other provinces in Canada, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video. Now, another thing to notice, I mentioned that Jasper is just west of Edmonton. Now, if you look east, and this isn't even all that far of a drive, we do have Elk Island National Park, which is a great place to get out if you want to go camping or just get out for a day and enjoy some time by a lake or out in the woods. That's also an amazing national park that we have pretty easy access to from Edmonton. Now, if you want to get to either Jasper or Banff, that's going to be about a 4-hour trip. If you want to go to Banff, you're going to go down through Calgary and then out west to Banff. If we're looking to go to Jasper, you're just going to take the Yellowhead Highway to the west, and that's going to take you to Jasper. But we're looking at about 4 hours to get to either of those parks. And so that's going to be a little less accessible from Edmonton as it is from Calgary. Now, some of the things to do in Edmonton. Edmonton has been nicknamed Canada's festival city with the amount of festivals that we have going on. Summer, winter, whenever it is, we have lots of events going on here in Edmonton. So if you're into the festival scene, if you like things that are going on every weekend, then you're definitely going to be able to find that here in the city of Edmonton. From ice castles in the winter to the famous Fringe Festival in the summer, we always have stuff going on here in the city of Edmonton. Now, another thing that kind of makes Edmonton famous, we do have the largest mall in North America. That's going to be right down here. That's going to be West Edmonton Mall. We've got hundreds of stores, about 100 restaurants in the mall as well. There's a large indoor water park. There's a large indoor amusement park as well. We have bowling alleys, mini golf, really anything you can think of is going to be here in West Edmonton Mall. And that can take up, I mean, weekends on weekends because there's so much to do there in the mall. So that's really going to be what we're looking at here for Edmonton. Now, as we head south, you're going to see that between Edmonton and Calgary, we do have the city of Red Deer, which is actually the third biggest city in Canada, and not in Canada, but in Alberta rather. So here in Red Deer, we have about 100,000 residents, and that's going to be accessed by a lot of people who are driving up north to Edmonton from Calgary or down south to Calgary coming from Edmonton. We do have Red Deer College here in Red Deer as well, and it's pretty affordable real estate market in the low 300,000s right now is the average home price here in Red Deer. So we're going to head down further down this highway 2 here, which is going to take you through Red Deer and then down to Calgary. We'll zoom out. Now you can see with Calgary as well, we do have some rather large cities in the Calgary metro area. Some of the more popular ones there are going to be Airdrie. We're going to be talking about Cochrane and Okotoks. So the city of Calgary itself is going to be about 1.3 million residents. And then the Calgary metro area is going to be about 1.5 million residents. So we are actually looking at the biggest city in Alberta here in Calgary. Edmonton is the capital of Alberta, but Calgary here is the largest city in Alberta. Now, the average home price here in Calgary is going to be about $500,000. So that's going to be a little less affordable than Edmonton, but both of them are still ranked as some of the more affordable places to live in all of Canada, and also just some of the higher quality of life in Canada. And a lot of that is going to be attributed to the nature that we're going to have access to from both of these cities, and also the affordability. That goes a long way for people when they're trying to enjoy their lifestyle. If their budget is less stressed, that's just going to be a higher quality of life for those people. Now, obviously, the biggest thing that we're going to have here in Calgary, one of the biggest reasons that people like to live here in the city of Calgary, is having this fantastic access to Banff National Park and just the Canadian Rockies in general. As I mentioned, it's only about a 45-minute drive to get into the mountains themselves. So it's super easily accessible. If you want to even go for a day trip and go out hiking or go out for a ski or snowboard session, that's very easily accessible to do, even in just a day or a weekend. And you can obviously plan longer trips than that to get into there as well. So that's one of the biggest reasons that people are going to want to live in Calgary. They love having that access to the mountains and just being able to be more active out in nature. Now you can see that we also have a river that kind of cuts through Calgary here. That's going to be the Bow River that Calgary is sitting on. A lot of people in Calgary say that it's nicer than the North Saskatchewan River in Edmonton. I'm going to have to disagree and say that we do have the nicer river, but they also have the river cutting through the city, which is going to offer a lot of access to get into the river valley. And again, just enjoy being out in some nature in the city itself. Now, Calgary is one of the youngest cities in Canada. The average resident here in Calgary is going to be 36 years old. So it's quite a young city, which leads to a very vibrant lifestyle here in Calgary. There's going to be a lot of nightlife in the city of Calgary and just lots going on. So if you want a place where you can go and just feel that younger average resident, if you can feel that younger city in general, where it's going to be more vibrant, a little more lively, you're going to be able to find that in Calgary. Now, one of the bigger appeals to Calgary, in Edmonton, we have West Edmonton Mall. In Calgary, one of the things that they're more famous for is the Calgary Zoo, which is one of the largest and best zoos in all of Canada, if not all of North America. So that's always something that people will take a day trip into Calgary to go see the zoo, and you can definitely enjoy that if you're living there as well. Now, one of the other major attractions here in Calgary in the summer is going to be the rodeo. So we do have the Calgary Stampede, which is the largest rodeo in the world, along with an amusement park that comes through Calgary for the week there. That's always a very large attraction. We have a lot of people come down to Calgary for the Stampede, and it's just a big general attraction with lots of live music being played, as well as the amusement park and the rodeo. So that's always a good time there in Calgary. Now, the last city that I wanted to talk about here in the province of Alberta as we head down is going to be the city of Lethbridge. Now you can see, I'll zoom out a little bit so you can get a better perspective on that, but Lethbridge is going to be at the very bottom of the province. This is kind of what we would call southern Alberta. Now, Lethbridge is the fourth largest city in the province of Alberta. And as we zoom in, you're going to see that we have lots of little towns around Lethbridge. Now, the majority of the industry down here in southern Alberta is going to be farming and agriculture. So a lot of these are going to be smaller farming towns that surround Lethbridge. Now, Lethbridge is very similar in size to Red Deer. We're going to have about 100,000 residents. The average price of a home here in Lethbridge is going to be $340,000. So of Edmonton and Calgary and then Lethbridge, it's going to be the most affordable in terms of housing prices. Now, we do have the Lethbridge or the University of Lethbridge here. So there's going to be a lot of college age kids in the city as well. They're going to make up a good portion of the population because we do have the University of Lethbridge down there. And a lot of the people who grew up in these surrounding farming towns are going to take that as their first option to go to the University of Lethbridge. So that is a nice city there. And we have a lot of these smaller towns around it, like Raymond and McGrath. We have Tabor and a lot of these other smaller towns as well. And that's always nice to get out into the plains here. When you think of the Alberta plains, you're going to see a lot of that down here in southern Alberta. Now, you're also going to see that you're pretty close to the border from Lethbridge. I believe it's only an hour to get from Lethbridge down into the States here. And so there we are. You can see that you can head right down into Montana and enjoy the nature that you have down there as well. Lethbridge is also very close to Waterton National Park down here. That's going to be a super easy drive to get there. So again, one of the big appeals to living here in Alberta is going to be the access to the Canadian Rockies, getting out and living an active lifestyle in nature. And that's going to wrap it up for our tour of the province of Alberta. Now, guys, again, if you are interested in making the move to Alberta, I'd love to help make that a smooth move. So go ahead and reach out to me with all my contact information in the description. And if you want to stay in touch with the Canadian real estate market, then be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, so you're always the first to know about the real estate market here in Alberta. Thanks, guys, for sticking around to the end of the video, and we will see you in the next one.